Hey everyone, while I'm waiting for some butter to brown and cool for my other recipe that I want to do, I'm going to make some sourdough bread. And I'm going to change up the flavor profile a little bit by adding in some rye. If you don't want to get a full bag, I suggest going to like Minco, Sprouts, any of those, or something that's near you that has bulk. That's what I like to do is just grab some different flavor flour to try and change up the bread profile. And just so you know, rye will make it a little bit more strengthened, so you won't have such a floppy dough if you don't do a lot of tensioning. So I have my flour, I have some active starter, and I just need some water. This is on, it's in grams. Pour in, because I'm using a different flour than I have before, I'm still playing around with the water levels. So that's one thing that, like, a tip that I want to remind everyone is that you need to make sure that you're not following instructions on the recipe exactly. You need to make sure that you're checking to see like the moistness of the flour and how your flour reacts with water in the starter, because every environment is different. So this one is bread flour from Hayden Mills, which I love their stuff. And as you can see, I got a 50-pound bag, but and then with the addition of the rye, it just makes it so much like drier if you use the traditional 375 grams. So your environment outside, your environment inside, temperature, all that plays into what we're going to do. So I'm a little high on this because I'm at about 394 right now, and that's just gonna kind of account. It's not an exact science. You just have to see where it fills in. All right, so I got that. Make sure to tear that out. Got my sourdough starter and dough hook. Love this thing. Use it for everything, especially like brownies and that, because you don't want to over stir the brownie batter. It's really good. So put in your starter, and that's probably more than I needed. Yes, it was, but it doesn't hurt anything if you're over with your starter. It's going to cut down on your time to actually rise and ferment and all that. So if it's colder, it's better to put a little bit more starter than it calls for. Just a tip there. It won't change like the sour profile or anything like that. It literally is just about the fermentation part. And then just gonna stir that up, put that in there. I play around with when to put the salt in quite often. If I feel like I have enough time, I will make sure to put the salt in after the autolyze with the flour. If I don't feel like I have enough time or I've got too many things going on, I will actually put the salt in with the flour. A lot of people have tried a lot of ways, and it doesn't actually, it's not a big deal for me. So, but then I'm also not trying to get like the perfect loaf. I enjoy my bread no matter what. All right, so I'm just going to measure out about 60 grams. I've been playing with flour a little bit. I tried 100 and I didn't really, I got a little more, so I'll get to 70. I tried 100 and I didn't really feel like the flavor was right. I don't know why, because it should have been the same as 60, but I actually, tried it and didn't really taste it as much. So yeah, And yes, I need to get something to put my bulk flour in, but for now, this is where we're at. All right. Then don't clear this out because you want to make it all equal 500 grams. So I'm just going to put it in to get to my 500. Just a little bit more. You can hear my butter browning in the background. All right. We're gonna leave that for now. Then take this off, mix it up. Just so you know, once you mix the flour and the starter, that's your start of your ferment. Some people like to think it's after. It's not. As soon as you start that, that's proof. So you want to keep it from over fermenting. You're going to want to keep an eye on it. About 4 hours from the start is typically, depending on the temperature, about when you're going to be ready to put it in the fridge. So just a heads up there. Some people mix this in the mixer. I'd rather use the mixer for other things that I need to do, like when I make the cookies after this. You just want to get all the flour moist. I realize that's a triggering word for some people. Apologies, but that's what I use. I'm gonna get this all mixed up. It's gonna be shaggy. It's not gonna look pretty, and that's okay. I can enjoy my facial expressions doing this. And this is why we lift weights, because it does get quite intense. All right, so if you'll see that, not very pretty, very shaggy. It's just gonna sit there. You're gonna cover it. Also, a tip, do not put sourdough down the sink if you can help it. It will clog your pipes. If you do put sourdough down, make sure it's heavily diluted and run a lot of water behind it, because this stuff sets up and it's like glue. So you do not want to have somebody have to come out and fix your drains. So get as much off as I can. Get them in there. Yes, my hands are clean. All right, that's done. I love reusable tops. You can use shower caps. You can use a towel. I like to use these. They work great. Just make that, set your timer. I use my watch because then it's always near me and I won't forget it. And set your timer for 30 minutes. One thing I like to do so I don't forget is to put the salt by my stuff. So I put it there so I know I still have to add the salt in my next stretch and fold. So that's it for right now. I'm gonna finish my butter browning and then we'll wait for the next round. Okay, I need to do my first stretch and fold as well as add the salt on this rye sourdough, rye-ish. I only put a little bit in. I haven't dealt with the full rye yet, but I've been playing around with it. We need to measure out, and I have a huge bag, otherwise I would not use any measuring tools. When you bake as much as I do, it's just, yeah. So it's about a tablespoon for those, I wouldn't say a full. And just, I have like 11 or 12 grams. Different recipes call for different things. Now I've measured that out, so it's on top. Just gonna grab it and basically pinch it, and I should have gotten my hands wet. Wet will make the dough stick to less. You pinch it and kind of tear it off so it incorporates the salt. Apparently there are places and recipes that call for no salt. I did not like how this turned out with no salt, so I will always put salt. It was also flatter, of course. Just doing some stretch and folds, making sure that wiggle it a little bit, and making sure that that salt is incorporated. All right, just gonna, and it doesn't look like much still. Just gonna let that go for another half an hour, and then we'll do a slap and fold. Okay, I'm gonna show you the slap and fold method really quick. Make sure you have a clean counter. Make sure you have wet hands. Bring your dough out. And then you just pick it up, slap, fold over, pick it up, slap, fold over, pick it up. See how it's tightening up? And then I just make it a ball, put it back in, develops the gluten really nicely. And then I just do one more stretch and fold after this. Okay, this is the third stretch and fold, and it's my final. I usually only do 3. 2 if I have not much time, and I put the salt in before the first one. Make sure to get your hand wet so the dough doesn't stick. You'll see it's nice and pretty. It's pretty cold still, so I'm just stretching, folding over. You could do the coil folds as well. You're just trying to build tension, get that gluten going. And you can see it's going pretty well now. Just do a few of these and then let it do its thing. I'll cover it for 2 hours at least. Check back on it, see if it's ready to go, and then it'll go into the fridge. Okay, it's done its thing, bulk fermenting out in the open, and now we're going to shape it a little bit before it goes in. It's a little bit sticky, so just a heads up. Fold it over, that over, and then I do a fold into itself, and then come around and make. You don't want it to tear. Get some of the bubbles out, and then just put it into your prepared thing. I'm using a glass bowl. Cover it up, make sure it's nice and covered so it doesn't get dried out, and then clean off the sourdough from your counter before it's cemented, and put it in the fridge, and then we'll bake it in the morning. As you can see, this one kind of failed. We'll see how it turns out, but yeah, deflated quite a bit. Let's see how scoring with one hand is. I'm literally just gonna go down the middle here because there's not much to this one. And then now I'll just pop it in. Okay, let's see what the failure turned out. Definitely a little flat, that looks good. And you can see the extra little bit on it, so it's pretty. Should taste good still.